I just need to be careful about how I stereotype women or people of any gender, stereotyping feminists, because those things could end up stereotyping myself. So, I'm Sarah, I'm Ace, and I'm also a feminist.
It's really interesting to look back on a video that you made a year ago. A lot's changed in a year. At that point, when I was recording that video, I was still learning about the ace community. I would say that I'm still learning about the ace community now, but I would say that I've had the opportunity to meet so many ace-spec people over the last year. One of the ways in which I've done that is through online sort of things like Discord servers. I even started up a Discord server with a friend, and now it's got a lot of people in it, which is really cool because I made friends through it, which is honestly just wonderful. I now have a podcast, which I do with 3 of my cousins who are Filipino and queer, which is really, really cool. I've gotten to speak at different events. It is really nice to look back and look over all the really cool stuff I've been able to do over the last year. But what I wanted to do in this video, kind of looking a year onwards, was about one of the key features of that, which is coming out. We put a lot of emphasis on coming out. And I think we feel a lot of pressure to do it in terms of validating our identities, which I don't think is fair on us. And when it comes to things like representation in general, whether that's in the area I work in or anywhere else, there's also this pressure to come out in order to be able to show that representation, especially if you also are from other marginalized groups. It's not like a one-time thing either. From my experience of the last year, it's something that you're going to be doing again and again and again in different contexts. And then in terms of then offering that representation, it is still reliant on somebody being out. And it may not be necessarily safe for them to be out, but also people may not want to be out. And that's a good enough reason to not come out. For me, for example, I didn't really want to come out to most of my family members because it will require a lot of explanation and they will make assumptions about me. I'm married as well, and they won't just make assumptions about me, they'll also make assumptions about our marriage and the person I'm married to. And sure, I'm really lucky that my safety isn't going to be compromised if I do tell family members, but I just didn't want to go through that. And I'm at a point where I don't really care if they know now, but for a long time, I was bothered if they did know. I've been really fortunate to be able to come out at work comfortably. I think because my area of work is about inclusion and equality, diversity, inclusion, so that it was kind of acceptable in that environment. But I'm also aware that I'm not covered by things like the Equality Act 2010. I'm also aware that if I do come out to people, it does require, as many people nickname it, the TED Talk, that you keep in your back pocket for those situations when you explain to people what asexuality is. And there's a lot of nuance, and there's also a lot of diversity in experience. So to explain all of that in a very quick explanation can be quite tricky. And so when it comes to coming out and explaining that, I think about who I'm comfortable to talk about that with, especially when it does come with an explanation, but also that this isn't going to be the only conversation we will have about it, and being okay with that, and whether I'm okay with that particular individual. I do want to mention one of my colleagues because they asked me, what does that mean to you? And I really like that because asexuality can mean different things for different aces in terms of the way we experience it, but also what it means to us personally. That colleague also asked for resources in which they could learn about more about asexuality. I suggested articles, videos, there's also podcasts, but making sure that I gave different forms of resources to them so they had options. One of the things that's really helped me with coming out is the support I've gotten from family and friends. Honestly, if it wasn't for them to make me feel like I was safe to come out, I wouldn't have been able to. I think I would have stayed quiet. So I guess at an end of a video, you really should be giving wisdom, advice, things of that sort. But I guess my advice is you do you. Do things at your own pace. Come out only if you feel safe enough to. That's really, really important. And you also don't have to share your stories either, whether that's publicly or anonymously, because you might be sharing things that can be quite traumatic to you. You share those stories if you want to. I mean, sometimes it can be helpful for others to hear, but they should always be on your own terms, whether that's publicly, anonymously, or not at all. I would be really interested to see where I'm at a year's time. But right now, I guess I'm optimistic. I feel supported. I feel loved. I've accessed so much knowledge and I'm excited to know more about the ACE community. I want to be more involved with the ACE community. And so I don't know. I mean, if Slice of Ace is okay with me doing this on an annual basis, maybe I'll do a video update next year. I guess until then, keep being you. Make decisions that are the best thing for you. Don't base it on whatever people do. Keep being your great ACE self. I don't know why I'm doing finger guns. I'm going to cringe so much when I edit this. And yeah, just thank you for listening. And maybe I'll see you next year.